for, a 9 or 10-year-old child to work really hard on something and then have, 600 to 800 people, standing on their feet clapping for them because they did well. That's a great encouragement.
Bob LaBarca. I teach instrumental music at Coral Street and Radio Park. As I think back on this, I think the first thing I'd like to say is to thank Roy Schaefer. This was kind of his baby from the start. It was kind of his brainchild to do a collaborative project that would effectively bridge the gap between the students' 4th grade performance in the spring and their performance in the spring in 5th grade.
So this program started when Dr. Linda Thornton at Penn State was my advisor for my master's thesis, and or as I call her, she was my academic babysitter. And one project that I was talking about, there was a hole in our program in State College. The instrumental music students begin in 4th grade, but then they begin the first semester. There's pedagogy and there's learning the instrument and learning songs. And in the spring semester, they would get to play in the band or orchestra. But then coming back in the fall as a second-year student, there was nothing but pedagogy again.
I'm Dr. Linda Thornton. I'm an associate professor of music education at Penn State. We were talking about the need to have our students, my students, have experiences with little kids, more actual kids. We like to call it real kids.
And she was saying, hey, I wonder if I could get access to your 5th graders for a conducting experience in the fall. And both ideas came up at the same time, and we said, hey, we could make this work that way. So then we also, Robert Gardner came on board. He was the string pedagogy teacher at Penn State. And the three of us, got together and hashed it out.
It becomes our curriculum as well. So we have class on Mondays and Wednesdays. Mondays we talk about Wednesdays, and then Wednesdays we do the rehearsals.
Conducting beginners is like herding cats. It's a whole nother experience, and that is why it was important for Dr. Gardner and Dr. Thornton to have access to real live kids as close to beginners as was feasible, rather than something to try to pretend to be kids.
We also have an added benefit that after rehearsal we go to the waffle shop and reflect on the experience that we just had. College students getting up and going at 7 o'clock in the morning, they're pretty hungry by 9. So we go and do that. But we basically commit that portion of our syllabus to this particular program, and it helps get them ready for their student teaching. 90% of the Penn State students student teach the following semester. A few are doing a minor or something and they're waiting till the next fall. But that definitely drives our curriculum as well.
41, see that? So we all go bum bum.
At the first rehearsal, the professors conduct the pieces as an example, and it goes very well. At the second rehearsal, the Penn State students get to conduct for the first time. And of course, these are fantastic musicians at the top of their game. And the Peter Pan effect being what it is, they don't remember what it's like to be a beginner. So they'll come in so well prepared to be an awesome conductor, and they'll lift their baton up and they'll say, okay, let's play let's do an A flat major scale, and we'll do this in dotted quarter or dotted eighth and 16th note patterns. Ready? Go! And they'll drop their baton, and the kids will kind of look at each other and just blast something out because they don't know what was just said. And the look of sheer terror on the Penn State students' faces is always worth it. We experimented with this, I think it was 2007, I think. It was the first year that we did it. And we did it just at 2 schools because they were close to each other and they were both my schools. It was Park Forest and Grays Woods. And it was a great success. The concert was at the concert hall at Penn State, and it was a great event. And so the next year we expanded and we included Radio Park because it was the most nearby school, and 2 of my colleagues, Bob LaBarca and Mary Cronsmith, were teaching there.
Yeah, Roy was the ground floor, obviously, because he started, it was his idea. He did it for an evaluation project. Oftentimes we get students that would come to us in the fall as 5th graders, all jazzed up, and they'd say, Mr. LaBarca, when's our next concert? And I'd look at them and I'd say, May.
And they were eager to try it too, and we did it all together. And that year, I think, was the first year we rehearsed at Penn State instead. So we used the Blue Band building, their facility, and we had 3 different groups going. So the third year of the program, we included the entire school district, and it was a big experiment to see if this would work with that many buses and so forth. And that was the only expense that was really needed to be handled, was busing. And it worked well. So that would have been, I'm guessing, 2009, or should have been when it was. But we had all the teachers, all the elementary instrumental music teachers in the district on board.
5th graders in the State College Area School District don't get the opportunity to have a morning rehearsal until January. So Penn State providing this opportunity actually enriches our curriculum and makes it so they have one more ensemble opportunity before we're able to teach them in January.
Hi, my name is Lisa Bevan, and I teach instrumental music grades 4 and 5 at Mount Nittany Elementary School. The opportunity for my students to play in the fall in an ensemble setting, I think, is really so valuable to them. I think that that's a really great first opportunity to just get in there and start playing right away. They also end up realizing, hey, I have a friend in Hauserville, and they're also joining in. So they have that kind of camaraderie with their peers that are across the town in the other elementary schools.
Another benefit that it has is that our 4th grade kids, it's sort of a rite of passage in that the 4th grade kids in our buildings, they get wind of the idea that the 5th grade kids are doing this thing off school grounds at Penn State. They get to go to the Blue Band building at Penn State, which is a big deal to a 10-year-old, and so it becomes a rite of passage. And I think it's probably a good retention cookie for 4th graders too, to know that, hey, if I stick with it another year, I get to do the Penn State thing.
We've also expanded and included the Our Lady of Victory School, the local Catholic school.
All of the student teachers at Penn State that are majoring in music education get to work with our students, and it's really beneficial for our students because the students get to perform with a much larger ensemble than they would normally get to perform with. They learn how to follow different directors, they learn how to follow different styles of teaching, and as a mother of a 5th grader and an 8th grader that have already gone through the program, it is an excellent way for students to meet other students from different schools.
When these kids who play an instrument and play individually join a group that is 10 times the size of the string group at OLV or any small group, I have about 15 kids in our string ensemble, grades 3 to 8 at OLV. There are dozens of string players filling the music building room on Penn State's campus when the mornings we rehearse, which is a completely different experience for these string players. It elevates their string experience, and I know this for myself because as playing strings for 40 years and going from Suzuki kindergarten on bleachers to full professional type orchestras, there is nothing like that group experience as a musician.
Well, when we first introduced this, one thing that I was concerned about was, are parents going to think this is too much? Are we we're asking them to drive their kids to Penn State for these 6 Wednesday rehearsals that start at 7:30 in the morning. Is this going to be too much to ask? And are they going to say, hey, I have to draw the line here, and this is too much? And it was quite the opposite. Parents were eager to participate, and they got together and formed carpools, and they rather liked the idea, and they were enthusiastic and they were supportive. So that maybe just reflects on the community, but it also reflects on how parents are with kids at that age. They were glad to have a good opportunity for their kids. So yeah, that was, the parent factor was important, and I've had parents come back to me years later and say, that carried my child over. When we were first brewing this whole thing up, there was a lot of behind the scenes work for everyone. Now, on the school district side, it's really just part of our routine, other than, getting up a little bit early on 6 Wednesdays. That's really the rest of it, because the rest of our behind the scenes work has become our curriculum.
The State College Area School District doesn't provide any money, nor does Penn State, for this event. It's completely volunteer, and all of the State College school teachers are completely on board.
The main benefit that we were noticing from this is that, once again, in students coming back in the fall semester, we've asked them to establish a habit of practicing their instrument and keeping that going. And for 9 and 10-year-olds, that can be a lot to ask. Now it's a habit that's a year old, and we're asking them to stay in it every week. So when we give them a goal, an actual concert, with 3, 4, 5 songs that they are responsible for practicing and then rehearsing together, they're able to learn those things. We've always had an attrition from children going from the elementary school at 5th grade over to the middle school in 6th grade. It's a whole nother building. Now they're the little fish in the big pond. And there was always a fear factor of a new scheduling process and new teachers. And through this program, they've met other students who they're going to be going to middle school with, and they've sat next to them and played in a concert already. And we reminded them that at the end of 5th grade, that remember those kids that you played with when we played at Penn State. You're going to get to play with them now in your regular school program in middle school. And I believe it's actually had an effect. The children are more comfortable, with one more thing going on to middle school.
It's a win-win. The Penn State students get to work with real live students, which is a great experience for them. And of course, our students get to hear hopefully some of the same things from other musicians that they get to hear from us when they come back to school. So it reinforces what we do. And again, it's just a really great bridge between performances for us. And so in my mind, I think that's the greatest benefit of it. And it's really been a lot of fun. It's been fun watching the Penn State students do their work, the inquiries they bring to us later about it, and it's all good.
Having to do with the other personnel in the district and that sort of thing. I had a new neighbor move in down the street a few years ago, and we met her and we got talking, and turns out she's the librarian at one of the elementary schools. And somehow in this conversation she said, yeah, but every once in a while these 5th graders have to come late to library because they're doing this band thing. And I said, oh, well, that's my band thing. And she said, yeah, they, those 6 Wednesdays, they have to come a little late. And I said, I started, oh gosh, I'm sorry, because we've been told, especially that for the people who teach specials, because they only see the kids once a week, so coming in late is a problem. And she said, oh no, it's wonderful. They come in and they're so excited and they've had such a wonderful time. She's like, I would never want them to not do it because I think it's such a great experience for them. And that was it. I felt like, good, if we're getting that kind of support, if we have these kind of student-centered teachers in our schools, then this program is working.